Hey everyone, welcome back. So in today's video, I'll be looking at one of my biggest wins. It's against a title player. It's my first time beating a title player. And I've played the same opponent a couple of times before, but I've never won. And so today I'd just like to share the game and explain what went on in my head. And I was rated 1750 at the time, and my opponent is a national master around 2200. So the game started out with e4. I played c5, the Sicilian. More specifically, I played the Taimanov with queen c7, and my opponent chose a sharp line where he played the English attack, basically queenside castling pretty quickly, and black will usually castle kingside, so it will be like opposite side castling. Basically he'll try to attack on the king side, I'll try to attack on the queen side, and whoever breaks through first ends up winning. And played bishop e7, he plays g4 immediately, and here I played the inaccurate move bishop b7, which allows him to play bishop f4 and basically gain the initiative. I can't play e5 here. E5 doesn't win a piece because he just plays knight f5, and after I capture, he plays g5, again basically grabbing the initiative. Let's say I try to save my knight and go back. He gets in knight d5, and down the line with all this pressure, with these knights basically hitting everything, I mean, he's guaranteed to win back material, but also my king is going to be extremely weak. And this bad read down, looking down at d7, which is also unprotected. Like, I can't hold everything together at once, and white's initiative is pretty strong. So e5 doesn't work. If I play something like d6, he has many options, but even just the simplest of trading and winning a pawn immediately should be fine. Black does have compensation because, I mean, the light squared bishop is aligned pretty nicely against the rook, and this pawn is kind of stuck. I can play moves like king e7, h6 to grab initiative. h6, the idea is to basically open up my h rook, and king e7 just attacks this rook with tempo, connects both of my rooks. So, but still, white is doing fine here, and black could be better off by not allowing bishop f4, but just trading on d4 first and then playing bishop b7, and things are fine here for black. But I play bishop b7 and opponent doesn't capitalize. He plays rook g1, which is inaccurate, and I play rook c8. He still doesn't play moves like bishop f4, g5, and here I start to grab the initiative. So first thing I play is knight e5, and as if I didn't mention this before, I really don't know the theory much, but one thing I do know are the main ideas in Sicilian, and I know that basically trying to bring the knight into the center and playing d5 is a very common theme in the Sicilian, and if black manages to do that successfully, then he should be fine. So the Sicilian players out there, the e6 time on of Sicilian players, if you manage to get d5 and break open the center and there's no problem with your king, then you should be fine in general, and black usually solves his problems if you manage to get in d5 successfully. So that's a point I would like to stress. So first I start out with knight e5. The idea is d5 is more supported with the bishop now also eyeing that square, and then the knight also hits f3, g4, and d3, just the key squares in general, and knight is just centralized, and it's a slow improving move. So in this position, my opponent plays knight ce2. Now this is actually a really big blunder, as I just mentioned, because this just allows me to play d5 immediately, which I do. I feel like what he was thinking was to basically transfer his queenside knight to the king side and basically start an attack and try to blow me away, but I feel like he just overlooked this move d5, which I don't have to castle immediately. d5 here, my king can be taken advantage of in this position, and it's white who's put under pressure. In fact, if I turn on the engine, it's already -2 because d5 is just really strong in the Sicilian, and I'm stressing that if you're a Sicilian player, you have to look out for d5 ideas. So okay, here he plays g5, and another common theme I know is knight h5. The idea is to simply eye the g3 and f4 squares. The knight on h5 really can't be attacked immediately. The only way I can see is like playing moves like bishop e2, but right now there's a knight here, there's a pawn on f3, and also it's just way too slow. And worst case scenario, you always have moves like g6. But the knight on h5, usually on the rim, knight on the rim is dim. That's what they say, right? But in this case, looking at the g3 and f4 square is pretty important. So that's a common idea you have to remember. But in this specific scenario, I actually had a winning move that I missed, and it's just knight takes d3. The pawn is pinned to the king, so the queen has to take back, and then I just take. Danger levels. And this is the move that I missed. I looked at knight takes d3, but I just didn't see d takes e4. It comes with tempo on the queen. He doesn't have time to take my f6 knight, and once he moves back, I take on f3 again, and I hit his knight. And if we go a couple of moves down, I basically hit the rook, and I queen with check. So he doesn't have time to play moves like f takes g7 or whatnot. So I basically just end up 2 pawns, and black is just completely winning. Instead, I just play knight h5. I missed the idea. And okay, game goes on king b1. Black is still better, as I mentioned, because I have the move d5. And I just castle, and he plays knight g3. So one thing I'd like to mention is I didn't rush taking on e4 because I didn't see any point. If he takes back, I was just thinking I could take back with my bishop, and my bishop is just more active. So I just decided to improve my position and castle kingside, because I really didn't see a way he could attack now. And it was me who was connecting my rooks and bringing them to the center and trying to push forward and pressure him. So he plays knight g3, and here now I trade, and he took with h pawn to open up the h file, and maybe one day align like an attack with the light squared bishop. But after I took on e4 now, and basically the idea was that once he takes back, his pawn structure is like extremely weak, and he still doesn't have a clear attack immediately. This pawn is still stuck, and the rook is still not on h file. He's still several moves away from creating attack, and meanwhile I jump in with knight c4 immediately, basically winning the bishop here and simplifying a bit more and activating more of my pieces. And this was where white played, I said, the biggest mistake in the game. He played queen c1, and here this just overlooks a tactical shot where I just trade on e3 first, and then I play bishop c5. And the pin here is actually quite dangerous, because first of all, I'm just threatening e5 to win the piece. So he plays e5 to stop that, and then I just play rook fd8, and the pin here is quite deadly because he really has no way to protect it. If he just moves his bishop, I just start applying more pressure. And yes, big queen moves like queen b6, doubling up, so he has to protect with c3. But the problem here is now I play b4, and I'm just opening up the queen side, and white is under like serious pressure here. Like the engine is close to giving -3, and it's really hard for white to defend. He plays rook d2, and I just start putting more pressure, queen b6, adding more pressure to the pin, aligning my queen with the king. He steps out, but I trade, and here I spent around 15 minutes, because 15 minutes on the next two moves. And on this move I spent a lot of time, because I saw rook takes d4, and I just had a feeling this was completely winning. But after takes, I was worried he would play bishop takes h7, and I wasn't winning here. But I forgot that this comes with check, so I'm just completely winning. So I spent a lot of time like checking bishop takes h7 in this line. I saw this was winning, but after takes, I thought he had bishop takes h7 here, and he would be fine. And yeah, I just missed it, came with check. So in the game I spent a lot of time, and in the end I looked at other moves, and I decided to play queen a5, putting more pressure. And I'm still like it still gives -3, and I'm still completely winning, but I just missed an easier way to simplify and convert quicker. And I play queen a5, and after he plays bishop b1, I'm just thinking here, I'm like, okay, I know I knew I was winning here, but I was just feeling like I had a tactical shot, and I was just looking and I was just looking through, and I just couldn't find anything. And I spent a solid like 10 minutes, and then I was down to like 5 minutes and he still had 15 minutes. And I looked at bishop b6, bishop d5, and if I turn on the engine, these are all top engine moves, by the way, as well. So I was just looking at them and I was trying to choose between them, and I couldn't choose one because I thought I was looking for like an immediate win. And I guess that's one thing that I could learn from, and you could learn from as well. That if you're winning, it doesn't mean you always have a tactical shot. It's not like a puzzle. You just sometimes slowly keep improving. And instead of spending like 10 minutes, maybe I should have just spent 2, looked for moves, and then realized, okay, I have to slowly improve my position, and played rook d7 instead of wasting an extra 8 minutes. And here he brings his other rook, trying to protect. I try to put more pressure. Now this I feel like is a bit inaccurate, but nothing too bad. He plays queen d3. I block with g6 because he aligns his queen with the battery against my king. And by the way, I would like to mention, when I was spending like 10 minutes earlier, when I was playing queen f and stuff, I was also looking at these ideas. What if he just randomly sacks his bishop? Because I had to be careful. I realized the only way white could win here is basically creating an immediate attack against my king, which like a winning attack. So I was looking at all these ideas. It was nice my bishop covered the rook from going there, but there was still this rook swing, so I had to make sure none of those worked. And I played g6, I blocked him off, and then I simply went back, and I missed rook takes d4 earlier, which was just winning on spot. I realized I had to go back and basically win the endgame because his pawns are very weak. I'll just collect them slowly. He plays knight b3, and then I just go back and I allow all these trades basically. And that the main reason why is because I'd go on to I'd basically go on to collect these pawns. And the game went on. I quite don't remember the move order, so I decided not to put it in. But eventually he brings his queen out. He wins my a6 pawn, but I managed to centralize my bishop and win the rest of these 3 pawns while keeping my king safe. And it became like basically my 4 kingside pawns versus his 2 queenside pawns. Opposite colored bishop endgame. We traded off the queens and knight for a light squared bishop, and I basically ended up winning because this bishop could control 2 disconnected pawns, but like my dark squared bishop and my king can connect 2 disconnected pawns, but he can't stop all these 4 of these pawns together. They're all connected, and yeah, connected passed pawns, 4 of them, and I ended up winning. And going back, I would say the main reasons why I won was basically knowing the opening ideas. Like I didn't know the exact theoretical lines. I didn't memorize anything. Like as I said, bishop b7 was an inaccuracy, but in the end I knew the ideas. Maybe I probably would have been punished if he played moves like bishop f4. I would have been put under pressure, but luckily he missed it. And after that I knew the ideas. Knight e5, d5. Like knowing that knight ce2 was a blunder immediately when he played it. Instead of getting worried he would attack me on the king side, I stayed calm and I played d5. So knowing the opening ideas, knight h5, again, I missed the winning idea with knight takes d3, but again, knight h5 on its own isn't a bad move, knowing the opening ideas. And staying calm, just castling, slowly improving. And yeah, again, destroying his pawn structure, making sure he had no attack. Like here, I spent a solid couple of minutes just making sure he had no attack and making sure I wouldn't get mated. On a bad day, I would probably just miss this. So again, it was just staying calm, looking at what he was threatening as well, and played g6. And then I would say one thing I could have improved on was not trying to immediately look for tactical shots and slowly improve. And in the end, I still managed to keep my calm, and even after I traded pieces, I made sure that, okay, I was winning the end game. So it was about keeping my calm and basically trusting my opening ideas and middle game play. So that was it. I hope you learned something, and see you next video. Bye.